All right, welcome to Activated Asana Basic Sequence Level 1. So this will just give you a chance to explore basic postures and use organization and activation in all of them. So I have my little crew here and we'll give you a demonstration of that. So we're going to start seated. So we'll just go into seated, everyone. And you can sit in easy pose or half lotus or whatever suits you best. Feel free to bolster or whatever. We're just going to be here for a few minutes. Okay, so we'll assume you set an intention for practice and you've set your context and your theme, and then we'll just begin with sitting, and we'll sit nice and tall. Let's just have hands on the knees for a moment. We'll just take a couple of centering breaths. So closing down your eyes and making your spine erect. It's really important to lift through the crown, lift through the heart, and then settle into your breath for a couple of rounds. If you are using Ujjayi breathing, you can initiate Ujjayi breathing here with subtle engagement at Mula Bandha at the pelvic floor. Or you can use abdominal breathing if that's your preference. All right, let's begin with some movement. So we'll inhale and do some sun breaths, taking your palms upwards so our shoulders are externally rotated. And then we'll exhale and turn the palms downward. So just moving in a nice, easy flow, inhaling, letting your breath last the length of your movement, and exhaling, taking down. Again, when we raise the arms, it's better to move into external rotation. And when you take them down, you can internally rotate slightly. All right, this time when we come up, we'll pause at the top, and then we'll take our right hand and place it down, letting the elbow bend and then reaching the left fingers toward the right. Then it's nice to press down into your right hand so you can ground through your left sitting bone a little bit more firmly. So depending on your group, you may want to explore a little bit right here. So keeping the heart lifted, sitting bones grounded, see if you can draw your left shoulder back slightly and possibly even look up. So if you have good movement through the upper back and neck, that would be possible, so people can explore that. Let's inhale and bring both arms up. Take a little pause in the center again, and then we'll take the left hand down, letting the elbow bend and reaching the right fingers to the left, and then pressing through left hand so that you ground through your right sitting bone. Keep the breath steady and smooth. Again, just reminding your students of the breath. If there's a little bit of space to explore, you can take the shoulder back slightly and look up. Let's inhale and raise both arms up. Beautiful. And then we'll take a spin toward the right, just taking left hand to right knee, letting right fingers tent behind you. And again, if your students are sinking back a little bit, you can suggest a block. Sitting up nice and tall, and then looking, so your eyes are going to help you turn toward the right. Keeping the spine lifted nice and tall, heart lifted, and really keeping the breath super steady and full here. You want to encourage your students to feel in this posture. Even with your left hand wrapping your right knee, you could pull back a little bit to activate your back. And again, it just gives your students more to feel, and this starts to prime your fascia. Let's inhale and take both arms up. We'll turn to the other side and take right fingers around left knee, tenting the left fingers. Using your eyes to help your body turn toward the left. The body will follow the gaze. Breath rises and falls continuously. You might pull back with your right hand against your left knee to keep your back a little bit more active as well. So all of this activation that we do primes the fascia, makes it more sensitive, makes it better able to help you stabilize. All right, let's inhale and raise both arms up. And we'll exhale and bring the hands to the mat in table pose. So you guys can just plant your palms and come into table pose. Spread your fingers wide open and then press down into the pads of your fingers. And then start to energize like you're dialing the hands away from each other, carrying that tensioning through the arms and into the shoulders. Beautiful. Press down into the top surfaces of your feet so that you get a little bit of activation in the belly. So this again will help us start to connect the hands to the core and the feet to the core. So if you're pressing down into your hands and dialing them away from each other, maybe you'll feel that squeeze in the belly. Pressing into the feet will certainly help with that. And then we'll just move into doing some revving so that we can see that we can stay active but still move. So we'll just come forward and back a few times. You can let your students do this in their own good time. And while we're doing this, we want to feel like we have some kind of control center behind the navel in front of the spine. This is kind of where the upper and lower fascial lines of the body kind of intersect and overlap. So just doing this revving action a few times, and you can go as far or as shallow with that as you like. And then we'll move into cat-cow. So hold your tables still for a moment. Inhale, send your tail up, stretch your belly down, shine your heart forward, and then lift through the crown. And then as you exhale, point your tail down, pull your belly in, cave your chest, tuck your chin. Inhale, send your tail up. Now while you're doing this, you might even tug your hands towards your knees. And then as you exhale, you might push your hands toward the front of the mat. Again, this is activation. Just continue on in your own good time, guys. And exhale. So again, you want to awaken the body. You want to give your students lots to feel so they can feel how their hands are connected into their core, how their feet are connected into their core. So there's no lazy feet here, no lazy hands here. And everything's being controlled from the center. All right, let's just move into a neutral spine now. And we're going to move our knees back a little bit so we can explore a plank from the knees. All right, so let's shift the body forward, straightening the hips, dialing the hands away from each other here will help you shine your heart forward, and we'll slowly come down to the mat. Beautiful. When you're down there, start to press into the feet and root your pubic bone down. Dial hands away from each other and inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, bring it down. Again, inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, bring it down. Good. One more time. Inhale, lift the heart. And exhale, bring it down. Now we'll tuck our toes. Keep dialing the hands away from each other as you shift your body back. Inhale, come back to your knee down plank. Lower little cobra, dialing the hands away from each other. Inhale, lift the heart. Now we'll shift our hips back and take this active child's pose. Inhale, shift forward again. And lower down. Inhale, lift the heart. Shift your hips back to kind of an active child's pose. Again, shift forward with your knees down plank. Bend the elbows, bring it all the way down. Inhale, lift the heart. And now shift your hips back. So that could be done 3 to 5 times. Let's take an extra breath right here. We'll come up onto the finger pads for a moment. Press down into the finger pads. You might want to energize like you're pushing your finger pads forward, pulling into the pads of your toes. So really push down the toe pads. And then we'll switch it up. So you're going to pull your hands towards your body, your fingertips, and you might want to pull your toes towards your knees, pulling everything into the belly. Really nice. Let's plant the palms now. Press into your toes and rise into downward facing dog. And downward facing dog will be done with feet hips apart, grounding into your great toes and dialing your knees away from each other. So that works whether your heels are on the ground or not. Beautiful. So downward facing dog. And for some students, downward facing dog is a very challenging posture. So, you want to give them some time to explore it. And this idea of dialing the hands away from each other is carried into the shoulders, broadening the shoulders, securing the arms into the scapula and onto the body. You could even add an extra energization where you're pushing your hands toward the front of the mat and pulling your feet toward the back of the mat. So again, you can have that body as one piece experience. Let's take one more big breath right here. And then we'll take a nice slow walk forward. So looking forward, walking your feet toward your hands. Feet are a little bit apart.
Take a look that the great toes pointed straight ahead, heels a little wider, knees are a little bent. Inhale up to half lift and exhale, fold. We'll do a little half lift practice. Inhale up to half lift, dialing your knees away from each other, and exhale, fold. Again, inhale up to half lift and exhale, fold. And one more time, half lift and exhale, fold. Beautiful. Let's sweep the arms behind us and then forward. Inhale, coming all the way up. And hands can come to Namaskar Mudra. So now standing in Tadasana, we'll organize and activate here. So that means that the great toes are pointing straight ahead, whether your feet are a little bit closer together or wider apart, and that will depend on a number of bony morphology things, and so make sure your students feel free to experiment with that. All right, hands can start in Namaskar Mudra. Organizing and activating here by great toe grounding, knees dialing away from each other. Make sure the knees are not locked. And just feeling the thighs become active and into the seat. And then feeling the inseams of your legs as well. So you'll first of all turn on the activation, which is a lateral or external rotation action at the hip. And then you'll feel your inseams are active as well. So holding Tadasana. We'll raise the arms into moon pose. You have the option of hands above the head or hands steepled together, or hands could be on the head, elbows wide. If you have grumpy shoulders, this is a good position. Or you can also do one hand up and one hand down. So choose your position. Inhale, engaging through the legs, getting really tall through the body. We'll exhale toward the right side first. So bending the body toward the right. Then we'll press down into our left foot and we'll energize like we're pulling the left hand out of the right hand. Notice if your students are locking their knees here, it's very, very common. So you want to keep reinforcing this grounding through the great toe, not dialing your knees away from each other. Another thing to look for is the abdomen collapsing forward. So pubic bone to breastbone is very important cue here as well. Beautiful. And staying tall, like let's focus on a nice, long, slow global curve rather than a bend toward the right. Okay, let's take a nice big breath and bring the body up, but feel the center for a moment. And then let's take it to the other side. Now pressing down into right foot, energizing through the body and kind of pulling your right hand out of your left hand. Make sure the knees remain unlocked and the shield is on. And we just keep cueing the breath. You want to feel your body pulling in the breath and then pressing it into the tissues. Hold the position longer if you want to give more time to explore. But otherwise, inhale, let's come up to center. Beautiful. Exhale, let your arms come down and we'll just roll out the shoulders, nice and easy. So I'm going to come back to the front of my mat. Hands in Namaskar Mudra. You guys will be at the front of your mat. And let's just make a slight bend at the knee. Okay, so we're going to be stepping back. We'll step back with our right foot first, keeping the left foot forward. So grounding into your left foot, unweighting the right foot, and stepping back. Toes will stay tucked under, but we want to bring the body all the way down. Okay, so great toe on your front leg is grounded, energizing like you're dialing the knee outward. Great toes, or all the toes are tucked under behind you and pulling this whole leg forward. Hands could be at the hip, or they could be raised up. Or today, let's put the hands at the back of the head and press the head into the hands. Pulling the back leg forward. So again, all of these postures are for priming the fascia. We're just waking it up, putting some tension through it, making sure our proprioceptors are sensitive. Let's take another big deep breath here. Exhale the breath and release the hands down. Using the hands, we'll sweep forward and step back to the front. Slight bend of the knees. Weight into your right leg. Unweight the left foot and let it step back. And we slowly bring the knee down. Beautiful. You can choose a hand position or follow me. So great toe of your right foot grounds, knee dials out. tugging the toes of your left foot toward the left knee and then dragging your whole left leg forward. So both legs are being pulled into the pelvis, energies merging and coming up through the center of the body. Head can press into the hands. Keep the breath super steady and full. Very, very nice. Let's release the hands. Inhale, sweeping them forward and stepping them forward. Beautiful. Let's take a little, what we're going to use as our Vinyasa, which is the power up. Okay, so inhale the arms to the side and overhead. Exhale, come forward and down. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold. Keep the knees bent now. Sweep the hands back and forward and up. And hands come to Namaskar Mudra. Beautiful. Now we'll take a standing twist. So I'll stand where you can see me better. Okay, so I'm going to give you an option here. Hands could be at the hips, or you could link the hands like so. Okay, so feet can be pretty close together for this one. If your balance is really good, they can be very close together. So once again, we organize and activate before we do anything. So dial it out, firm the thighs and the seat. Inseams are active and we're tall through the center of the body. Inhaling, and then exhale to the right. Beautiful. So as we notice, with the shoulders away from the ears, we want to notice how far we naturally go. Then press down into your left foot. Energize like you're dialing the knee out. Squeeze your left buttock. And then start to squeeze your right shoulder toward your left hip. So we're activating across the back body. Then you're going to pull your right hand away from your left hand, looking back. Keep the breath really steady and full. Tall through the spine, active through the body. So it takes a while to get used to staying active through an entire posture, but you will get stronger and adapt. Let's bring the head around to the front and let the body follow. We'll go right away to the other side. So take a big breath in and turn toward the left. Once you notice how far your body naturally goes, start to push down into right foot. Dial the right knee out, firm the thigh in the seat. Really squeeze the seat now and draw your right shoulder, that's your left shoulder blade, towards your right hip and start to pull with your left hand away from your right hand. Looking back, use your eyes. Use your breath, full expression of breath. Very nice. Let's turn the head back to the front and unwind the body. So let's just stand in Tadasana for a moment. Feet can be a little wider apart and just feel your body. You're already going to feel kind of a vibratory sensation in your body as you've been waking up the fascia. Just enjoy that feeling for a moment. Beautiful. And then let's bring hands in front of the heart and we'll take a little short foot practice. Okay, so a little bend in the knees, and then keeping the right foot where it is, just step your left foot back a little bit. We can stay on the toes of the left foot. Okay, so right great toe presses down, knee dials out. That is the first part. And then we want to actually wake up the inseam of this right leg. So there's a connection between your great toe, arch of the foot, inseam of the leg to pelvic floor and lower belly. So we'd like to find that sensory connection. So pressing down, sometimes at first it helps to pull the toes like you're trying to lift the arch of the foot or trying to shorten the foot, but that's a little bit extreme, so just soften that a little bit. So you want to have just enough activation to create that. And then start to focus on the inseam of the leg. Without that activation, it's really difficult to light up the inseam of the leg. So we really need that dialing out activation. Let's see if we can shift into that activated leg now and just take the toe away from the mat. So it will feel stabilizing to have hands in Namaskar Mudra, so you can keep them there. Let's take one more big breath here. And then if you guys are ready to try, we can lunge back. Nice. Okay, so now we want to ground through the great toes in the back foot. Activate the inseam of the leg by doing that. Keep dialing out through this lifted leg. Beautiful. Let's raise the hands overhead. Again, they can be apart or together. If they're together, then you want to pull your hands apart so you're activating your arm lines. Let's take some nice deep breaths here. Beautiful. One more. Nice. Let's bring the hands back to Namaskar Mudra. Lean into the front leg, pushing off of your back leg to come forward. Inhale, arms to the sides and overhead. Exhale, dive your body forward and down. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold, and then sweep your arms back and forward and up. And exhale, hands come to Namaskar Mudra. Now we can slightly bend the knees and just bring the right toes back and work on short foot for the other foot. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. Okay, if you want to grip with your toes a little bit, that's okay, but our focus needs to be on the inseam. So give it some time to develop. It takes a little moment. You'll notice that without that activation, you cannot activate your inseam. So this dialing out actually helps you activate your inseam. So once you can feel that, let's try shifting our weight forward into there and let that leg support our weight, just taking the toes away from the mat. If you're working with people who can't quite get there, it's okay to have a toe coming down. And now let's see if we just bend this knee, hold on to our activation, and step back into a lunge. Beautiful. So keep great toe grounding, knee dialing out. This helps you tuck your hip back, and then we drive back into our back toes. Beautiful. Let's raise the arms up, steepling the fingers if you like. Any way you want to do that is fine. It's really nice to have this opportunity to activate the arm lines by pulling the hands apart. Let's prepare to come forward, bringing the hands back to Namaskar Mudra, taking your body weight into the front leg and pushing off the back toes. Beautiful. Inhale, arms to the sides and overhead. Exhale, take it forward and down. Inhale, half lift, knees can stay bent. Exhale, fold, sweep the arms back. Inhale, power up. And exhale, hands come to Namaskar Mudra. Beautiful. So now let's try a warrior two pose. As we just practiced short foot, so we're kind of using that idea to step back. So we'll actually keep our right foot down, grounded on the floor, lifting the other foot back. Again, we're basically activating, dialing out, and then we'll step back. Okay, so I'm going to switch my stance. I'll mirror for this one. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. So this is really important concept to understand. Without that activation, you just have a very soft inseam and you just can't hold that position. So we want to keep grounding through the great toe, pressing the knee out. This is also going to help settle the pelvis into position. There's no strict rule here about what direction the pelvis faces in. It needs to work for your body. Just let your hips do what they can do. The activation is what's important. Let's raise the arms up to shoulder height, or actually today, let's bring the hands to the head. So putting the hands on the head, pulling the fingers apart again. I love to pull the fingers apart and include the arm lines with whatever we're doing. So let's talk about the back foot. We're still great toe grounding, knee dialing out with the back foot. So that's an important thing to know too. We can kind of keep focused on the front foot and forget what's happening there. Both legs are dialing out. That's because the feet are on the floor. So keep the breath super steady here. One more breath. Good. Let's take the hands down. We're going to turn our body, look forward, tuck your back toes under, and now once again, it'll help you a lot if you want. You can swing the arms forward because that was a really wide stance. Okay, so let's take the knees into a bend. And this time we'll step back with the left foot. No, we'll step back with the right foot. That's what I get for mirroring. I'm going to do this. Okay, great toe grounds, knee dials out. And great toe ground, knee dials out. Same. Okay, let's take the arms and bend at the elbow this time. So with this particular arm position, we want to draw the elbows back and press the back of the hands back. Great toes keep grounding. We dial the knee out. And then you could take a few breaths and pull the legs towards center. And you could take a couple of breaths and press your legs apart as well. So you can see what you enjoy doing. It's a good idea to have both experiences. So Warrior Two is a great posture to stay in for a little while, build some heat and strength. All right, let's bring hands back to Namaskar Mudra. We're going to turn our back toes under. Lean into your front foot. If you want, you can use your hands and step to the front. Let's take a Vinyasa. Inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, coming down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Let the knees bend, swing the arms back and power up. And exhale, hands come to Namaskar Mudra. Beautiful. Now we'll take a chair pose. Very exciting. Let's bring the knees and hips into a bend. So this is another key pose for building strength in the thighs. Great toes ground, knees dial away from each other. So I'm going to have my feet close together, but I'm not going to hug my knees into each other because that is more of a collapsed position. So knees apart. So let's see if we can sink down into the pose a little bit more. Keep the heart lifted for now. And it always helps you to look ahead rather than looking down. It kind of pulls you into more of a downward position with your head and upper spine. Let's take one more big breath, and then we'll take our right elbow across our left thigh. Now the challenge here is, can I keep my tail pointing straight back? So try to make sure you keep your knees at the same level. Both knees are dialing out. You might think about squeezing heels toward each other here. And of course, we're including the arm lines by pressing into the back of the right arm. Lovely. Now, one more big breath here. Inhale. And we'll exhale all the way to the other side. Taking the elbow across, rolling the shoulder back, dialing knees away from each other, squeezing heels toward each other. This will literally help you lengthen the spine. And by lengthen, I don't mean it's actually going to get longer, but it just feels like the inner aspect of the spine is long and strong. Nice breathing, you guys. Inhale, let's come all the way up. Reach up. Let's go all the way down. Inhale to half lift. Exhale, let the knees bend. Swing your arms forward and up. And exhale, hands come to Namaskar Mudra. Beautiful. You can kind of shake that off and we'll do a standing single leg balancing pose now. So we'll start on the left foot, will be our balancing leg. Cleanse your breath. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. So whenever we go into a single leg standing balance, we want to take a moment to do that. Okay, we don't want to rush into it and not have a steady foundation. So great toe grounds, knee dials out, and we're nice and tall on the hip. Okay, and then we pick up the thigh. So let's press the hands down into the thigh and the thigh up into the hands so they really get our core active. Then we'll take the hands and we'll raise them up. Hands facing each other. So it's a very, very simple pose, but it gives students an opportunity to just practice and stay with it for a little while. Because learning to be more stable and getting stronger requires that. It requires practice and requires staying with postures. Staying with the breath. Let yourself feel. So gang, if you press back through your thumbs, you'll feel your back body more. And then if you lift your thigh a little bit more, you'll feel your front body more. Feeling is really, really important. Let's take one more big breath. Hands to Namaskar Mudra, feet to the floor. Let's prepare the right leg. So great toe grounds. We want to make sure the great toe straight ahead. Dial your knee away from center. Take the weight away from your left foot and then bring up the thigh and hands can press against the thigh.
So these kind of things, this pressing prior to the pose is, again, it's an activation of the fascia. We're priming the fascia. It's going to help you be more steady and sensitive in your standing balance. So now we can raise the arms up, thumbs back, and we're really drawing straight up through the body. We're really, really tall on our standing hip. If you want to bring more back body into it, you can press the thumbs back. Press the thigh up a little more for more front body. Lift the corners of your mouth to have more fun. And keep the breath super steady. Press the floor away from you. One more full round of breath. Inhale and exhale. And we can bring hands to Namaskar Mudra, foot to the floor. And let's shake that out. Beautiful. Let's do another single leg standing balance. Again, very simple, but our body is learning a lot in these simple poses. We'll start with our left foot as our standing leg again. And great toe grounds, knee dials out. We always do that first. And then let's just draw the toe back. So the leg just extends to the degree where your toe touches. So the knee is straight if possible. And we just are kind of finding the end of our hip extension. Okay, great toe grounds, knee dials out. We stay with the heart very lifted. Pubic bone to breastbone is drawing upward. Crown is lifting tall, and then we open up through the chest. Palms will face forward, thumbs are out. And then when you feel like you'd like to, you can just lift the toe away from the mat slightly. So this really activates your back body, if you can feel that. You're pressing into the back of your arms, pressing into the back of your right leg, and keeping the breath steady. One more breath here. Very nice. The toe comes down. We just come back to Tadasana. Let's take a nice big breath. And let's prepare for the other side. So we'll have the right foot will be our grounded leg this time. Great toe grounds, knee dials out. We'll be tall on this hip. Just take your left toes back with your knees straight, just so it's kind of helping you balance for a moment. Once you feel very sure about your standing leg, you can just a tiny lift away from the floor. Arms are in position, palms facing forward, thumbs are out. And you want to actually press so that your chest is open. You're gathering through the back body. You can really feel your back body. You're trying to keep your standing knee relatively straight, not locked, but straight. Keep lifting up through the heart, getting taller all the time. Pull your breath up through your body, press it into the tissue. Beautiful. Let's take the foot back to the floor. Let's bring hands back to Namaskar Mudra, and we'll take a little Vinyasa. Inhale, reach. Exhale, forward and down. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, let's bring our hands to the mat. Hold it right here in forward fold. Wiggle your feet apart a little bit. Keep your knees bent. And just take a nice, easy forward fold for a moment. Beautiful. Plant the hands, walk your feet back, and take downward facing dog. Ground into the pads of your fingers. Energize as though you're dialing the hands away from each other. And let's also press the hands toward the front of the mat. We'll stand on our left foot and bring the right foot up. Let's keep the right toes pointed straight down so you can kind of peek at them from this perspective. Make sure the toes are straight down. And then from there, you want to press up into the back of your right leg. Now on your left leg, you're pressing down through the great toe and you're dialing that left knee outward. And just press. This is quite a strengthening pose if you stay with it for a few breaths. Keep pressing into your lines, pushing hands forward. Lovely. One more breath. And as you exhale, you can slowly lower that right leg, place it carefully down, and we'll lift the left leg. It's fine to take a break between
this posture if you want. We're just going to carry on. So we want to make sure that with our lifted leg, the toe is pointing straight down. You could have your ankle in plantar flexion, that's fine, as long as it's facing straight down. So whichever way you want to hold that leg. Your grounded leg, knee is dialing out, okay? Great toes ground, knees dial out. Press your hands toward the front of the mat. Let's take one more nice big breath here. And then we can let the foot come down. Let's bring the knees down with toes tucked under. Walk your hands forward if you need and come up onto tented fingers. Beautiful. Let's take a nice little breath here and then plant your hands. You're going to probably have to walk them back somewhat. We'll bring the right leg forward on the mat. And we have blocks handy, so you can decide how you want to use them. So one option is to actually stay up a little bit more for this. You could have fingers on the block or palms on the block, grounding down through your right great toe, dialing the right knee out, and then you could lift the back knee. So where we're working our way toward a lower position, but this is fine at first. And here you can push down into your front foot and pull it back and tuck your back toes under and pull them forward. So you kind of feel like there's a lift in the belly when you do that. So now let's move it down. So we'll bring the knee down, and now we'll see about maybe possibly bringing the elbows onto the block. Looking more now like gecko pose or lizard pose. Pressing down into the great toe, dialing the knee out. It doesn't have to go out like that. I mean, if you want to do it that way, you can. I'm just saying, you want to have your arch lifted. Let's push into our left toes in the back to lift the knee. Now, while we're here, let's keep our gaze just a little bit forward. And we're pressing down into both feet again so that we feel that corresponding lift in the belly. Really nice. One more big deep breath here. Now we'll walk ourselves back up. Beautiful. Plant the palms, lift, step back for downward facing dog. Up to you, you can bring your knees down and then step your left foot forward. Back toes are tucked under. You can use blocks once again to come into a low lunge, pressing down into the great toe, dialing your knee out and then pushing into the back foot so that you're straightening the knee. You want to feel like you're lifting the belly slightly here, pulling the legs. Let's bring the back knee down. And now we'll work toward coming into gecko or lizard. Great toe grounds, knee dials out on your front leg, and then you're going to push into back toes. Once again, we want to press into the feet to lift the belly slightly. Really nice. Breath is super steady and full. Wonderful. Let's bring the back knee down. Walk yourself up off your block. Plant the palms and then step your foot back. Now we'll be an upper push-up. Bring the knees down and lay on your belly. Let's bend both knees. Let's just take a moment to windshield wiper the legs. So you can rest your forehead on stacked hands. Take your legs from side to side. Okay, and then we'll come to a still version of this pose. Walk your thighs a little closer together, perhaps. Great toe edges pretty close together. Lift the chest and reach your hands back toward your legs without touching them. Good, so just work on opening up through the chest, reaching through the hands, and then press up with your feet to let your thighs come up. This is a really strengthening pose.
It's a really good preparation for bow pose, but it will help you develop strength before you start exploiting your joints. Let's take a nice deep breath here. And then we'll let the thighs come down. Bring the hands beside the chest, straighten the legs, press back, and we'll take downward facing dog. Looking forward, let's take the right leg and fold it behind the hands. Wiggling back with the back foot for Frisky pigeon pose. So our back toes are tucked under, and we'll push into those toes to let the knee come up. And then we press into foot, shin, and knee so that we can lift the pelvis. Now, if you're new to Frisky pigeon, the pelvis may not be able to lift up first, but as your external hip rotators get stronger with practice and pressing down, then you will, right guys? Okay, so hands could be on fingertips, on blocks, but eventually you might have them to your hips. Let's take one more big breath. Keep pressing down. That's our emphasis here. Hands to the mat. Lift your belly and take downward facing dog. Then you can look forward and take the other leg, left leg, behind the hands. Back toes are tucked under, and we're activating into those toes to lift the knee. And then foot, shin, and knee can press down to let your pelvis come away from the mat. You know, it can take people a while to get stronger in this pose because they may have spent years stretching out their poor little piriformis muscle, and it's going to take a while to get it stronger again. So don't be discouraged. Just keep pressing, showing up, pressing down. One more deep breath. Beautiful. You can let your body come down, come onto your hands, and take downward facing dog once again. Now from here, we want to transition to coming onto our seat. So we're going to just take a little hop forward. You could walk forward if you want and sit down like so. Okay, and now we'll take inverted table. So I'm going to just suggest trying this with blocks under your hands. If you're new to this pose, you might find it surprisingly challenging on the shoulders. If your shoulders are just totally fine with it, you won't need the blocks. It just unweights the shoulders a little bit. So we start with the feet planted. Again, they need to be parallel so you can apply your organization and activation. Great toes ground, knees will be dialing out. And then your hands will either be on the block with your fingertips towards your body or on a mat with fingertips towards your body. Okay, so with the hands, we're actually dialing them away from each other. Feet are pressing down and dialing out, so it's good to just take a moment and press. And then when you feel ready, press up. Okay, so you can tell that the front of the shoulder is loaded under a long contraction, an eccentric contraction. So it's a really nice stimuli for the shoulders, but if it's too much, you can modify. Don't quite spend as much time there perhaps. Keep dialing your feet and knees away from each other, and here if you wanted to, you could squeeze your butt a little bit as well. Push the floor away from you. Let's take one more big breath here, and we'll slowly bring that down. Beautiful. Let's shake out your hands. And we'll bring the soles of the feet together, let the feet fall apart. You could always use a block under your sitting bones. These blocks are a bit thick for this, but you know, a block under the sitting bones will be helpful if your knees don't really want to drop down otherwise, or if you can't keep your pelvis from spilling back. Okay, so soles of the feet are together, and we want to actively bring the knees downward, okay? So sit up as tall as you can. Let's not worry about how much we can lean forward. Let's just work directly with our hips, pressing down. So we'll give them a little bit of help by bringing the forearms to the inside and let the knees or legs push up against the arms, and the arms aren't going anywhere. They're not gonna let those legs move, and you can do that for one more breath. And then we'll let go of that and bring the hands to the underside. So we'll press the legs into the arms. Press, press, press.
And then we can let that go. And then you can hold on to your feet. You could grasp your great toes or the inseams or arches of the feet. I like to slide my hands under, and then I kind of pin my hands down with my heels, and then I can tug on my hands a little bit. So this helps me really focus on the hip joint itself rather than bending through the spine. I can actually pull with my hands, which activates my upper back, keeps it a little more in alignment. And then actively, I'm going to press down with my knees. Just trying to maintain the corners of my hips here. Of course, the breath is super steady. Beautiful. Let's release that and just take a little moment to plant the feet and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Great. Then we're going into a seated forward fold, and we're going to use our blocks today, putting the blocks under the knees. These blocks are a little bit on the soft side, so it's not too aggressive on the back of the legs. Otherwise, you could use a roll of some kind. Okay, so I'm going to have a little bit closer together. Okay, so our intention here is to just work with the pelvis and the hip here, more or less actively. So let's inhale and look up. Exhale, bring the hands down and just monitor your body moving forward into a hip bend, okay? Go into hip, exactly, and hold it right there. Now, because we have the knees bent, you'll probably easily be able to fold at the hip. And what we'll do is actively lift up our feet. So this activates the front body, which theoretically helps the muscles on the opposite side make peace with the idea of stretching. I'm going to say it that way. Okay, so lift. You can't overdo this, so feel free to lift with as much energy and intention as you like. And then we're going to let the heels fall down, and we just let the body fall forward. And again, we don't worry about bending through the upper back. I mean, it would be easy to do so. We want to just bend at the hip. Okay, so that is a little experience that your hips have just had. Let's ease up a little bit and move the blocks. And then we'll just see if we can be a little more comfortable in a forward fold. Again, I generally always activate my forward fold, and that means I'm going to push my knees down and try to pull my legs into my pelvis. All right, and I don't spend loads of time in forward folds. We're going to take ourselves out and come into a seated twist now. So again, with a seated twist, if you find that the pelvis likes to spill backward, it is good to have something under the sitting bones to prevent that. So let's start with our right side. We'll bring the right leg in. We want to sit up nice and tall, get our spine erect right from the beginning. Step that foot across, wrap it with our left arm, and then look back. Reach back with your right hand actively, and then fingers content. I like wrapping the leg because when I do that, I hug the leg in and then I push my leg into my hand. Again, it's a way of activating through my body. I activate everything I can. Looking back. Okay, and here you could also draw the back of your right shoulder toward the left hip. Just keeping the body more active, and just notice the breath is just going to work some magic in this pose. Long, slow, steady breath. Really nice. Let's turn our gaze back to the front, and we'll let the body unwind. And let's try the other side. So bringing in the left side, taking it across, wrapping it with your right arm. Reach back actively. Let fingers come to the mat. Inhale, lengthen to your spine. Lift through your crown, lift through your heart. Keep the breath flowing, steady and full. Activate the back of your left shoulder toward your right hip.
Wonderful. Let's turn the gaze back to the front. Let your body unwind, and we'll bring the legs back to straighten. Beautiful. Now we're rolling down onto our mat. So slowly take it down into little bridge pose. So walk your feet in so they're just beyond your sitting bones a bit. Tuck your shoulder blades under your body. We're just going to work on a pose that's just very, very valuable. Let's have the feet parallel to each other. They don't have to be super close, at least hip width apart. Okay, great. Toes straight ahead, heels a little wider. Let's just practice a couple times without lifting the body or anything, pressing down into the feet and then dialing them away from each other. So just go off and on a few times so you guys can feel what turns on when you do that. Okay, great. Toes ground, knees dial out. You could also think about squeezing your heels towards each other here. Doesn't it feel like your pelvis kind of lifts anyway? So we're going to let that happen. So press down, dial out, let your pelvis rise. And then if you wanted to rise a little more, you could push your feet toward the front of the mat. And that helps us activate the front of the legs as well as the back of the legs. Lovely. So just spend some time here. Follow your breath. Follow what's happening in the legs. Keep dialing out and pressing your feet toward the front, building your strength. Beautiful. Let's have one more round of breath here. And then slowly, one vertebra at a time, save your tailbone for last, letting your body return to the mat. Good. Now, once it has returned, draw in from pubic bone to navel and bring your knees toward your chest, catching hold of your feet with your hands. So it doesn't have to be your feet. You could hold onto your ankles, or you could hold the back of your knees. So, and you could hold your great toes or the side of your foot, whatever you feel like holding, okay? This is happy baby pose, so just make yourself happy. Once you get into the pose, you want to let your knees drop down to either side of your chest, just wherever they will naturally go. See if you can bring your tail down toward the mat, so most of your spine is in contact with the mat. And now we'll just, whatever you have hold of, whether it's your ankles or your great toe or the side of your foot, you're going to start pushing your foot into your hand. Squeeze your pelvic floor as you do that. Now keep squeezing the pelvic floor and pushing your feet into your hand while you breathe. And then we'll let it go, just sort of ease up and just rock your body from side to side, just like a happy baby would. And then we'll bring the feet and knees together. You can open up your hip socket a little bit. Stretch your arms out to the sides. And then with feet and knees together, let's take them down toward the left side of the body. You can just let them rest all the way down. You might even want to put your left hand on top of your right knee. If you want, you could have a block between your knees here. And then you're going to turn your head towards your outstretched right arm and let your right shoulder blade sink toward the mat. If it doesn't reach the mat, totally fine. You're going to feel most of this twist in your upper back, and that's right where we want to have it. So this, again, is a beautiful time to take the breath a bit deeper. Think about pulling it in and then pressing it into your tissue. Gather through your belly. Bring it back to center. Feel center for a moment. And then lower your knees toward the right side. Possibly right hand will rest on top. Look toward your outstretched left arm and sink your left shoulder blade toward the mat. Let the breath flow in and out. Beautiful. Take your time, gather through your belly, come to center, wrapping arms around your shins for a moment. And then slowly you can slide your heels toward the front of the mat and come into your Savasana posture. And I will just end the class with you here. So students taking Savasana, minimum of 5 minutes. You might want to continue to give them some cueing as they go into Savasana, etc. But that is the end of that particular practice, Activated Asana Level 1. Just a suggested example class. Okay, thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time. Bye for now.